Bitcoin and the major dollar pairs are off to a powerful Monday start after a weekend full of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and a steep dive down to lure in late-term shorters. So are we witnessing a stop-loss hunt for short sellers, or is this going to be sustained movement to the upside? Meanwhile, a shadow council appoints itself as overseers to determine what is and is not a crypto security. These unappointed mafiosos, these unappointed kingmakers, have given XRP the kiss of death. Should we be happy about this, or should we be brandishing our pitchforks? Because who are you to appoint yourself to be a regulatory agency without consensus? Well, let's talk about it. Let's find out in today's exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin. Welcome back to Breaking Bitcoin, recorded live in the studio. Today is Monday. It's September 30th. We're almost there at the end of the month, guys. We are almost there. Woo! My name is Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at KrakenCryptocurrency.com. Hopefully you guys are doing absolutely fantastic today. Whether you happen to be watching us from across YouTube, Twitch, DLive, Facebook Live, or on Roku, of course, our friends over at Roku. You got to use the Investor News Channel app to get on that. If you guys want to support the show, make sure to subscribe, follow, share, and engage in the live chat, and leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Question of the day: what is the good answer to a self-regulatory agency? Should we reach consensus like we do on the blockchain? Or would you guys be more comfortable with giants in the industry, basically appointing a regulatory council? Or should we have no regulatory council at all? These are serious questions that we have to answer as cryptocurrency investors, enthusiasts, and traders. How do we want regulation of our space to proceed? Because it's going to happen. And do you want to have no opinion on that? Do you want that to be completely handled by your central governments, by your central regulatory agencies, by the titans that already control the way that things currently work already in the equities and commodities markets? We might not have a choice, but at least you should be educated and have an opinion on that. So please leave your comment in the section down below if you're watching this later, or if you're watching this now, or let me know how you feel in the live chat. I'd like to talk about it. Okay. Of course, today's show is brought to you by the Premium Trading Group. If you guys are new, experienced, or aspiring traders looking to sharpen your skills, then make sure to go over to premium.krakencryptocurrency.com and learn everything that the group can do for you. I'd be more than pleased to help you grow your own technical strategy, as would my team. Now, I want to thank this month's crypto comment giveaway sponsor, Spectre Security Coin. Make sure to go check them out at spectresecurity.io. With that being said, let's go give away some crypto and let's break into the markets, guys. Let's go. All right. Howdy, 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 howdy. Good to see you guys. Fantastic Monday. Fantastic Monday. Yes, Scott, I think I liked the way that worked. So we'll just have to go hard edit that later back on in the thing. All right, so we're going to go over to the random YouTube comment picker. LoneRanger, what's up, man? I don't think you've got a hold of me in the Discord to claim your prize. Now, going back to YouTube, I just got to go grab the URL from yesterday's video. And Friday's video, excuse me, is this Bitcoin swan song. If you guys want to see an overexposed Justin wearing what may or may not be flannel, no comment. Make sure you go check that video out. 9 commenters, guys, thank you so much. Randomly pick a winner, and nope, that is not valid. Ron Legata, forward testing, random comment picker indicator. Well, your back test was good, man. You did choose. You clearly must have chosen a good one. Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you so much for the support. Ron, get a hold of me in the Discord, man. You know where to find me, and I will tip you some crypto, my good friend. Let's get right into the live scene and talk about Bitcoin's price. And of course, here we are over on the Bitstamp chart, which I think is germane to talk about. Let me pull up the chat and make sure I'm with you guys. Okay. 2 things that I want to point out here. We did have, and this is kind of a strategy. This is kind of a concept that we talk about quite a little bit, which is not buying the first bounce. To the levels of how people are successful with this is going to differ, and of course, on what time frames you're looking at this. But what I really mean here is, of course, we do have 2, count them, 1, 2, reversal signals coming in from time transformation, okay? Now, there are a couple things about this that I feel slightly, Well, let's just start from the beginning, guys. So let me just let you guys know where I'm at and how I'm sitting. So I am long. I do have a long in on Bitcoin right now. Now, am I fully exposed to the long side? I'm not. I really am not. And I've had my long open for a couple days now. So this isn't something new. I'm not extremely excited. It's not like I opened this position this morning. No, I was underwater with the movements to the downside over last night, and of course mostly on Saturday, where we just saw ranging, and then Sunday was mostly declination, and then obviously early this morning we had declination as well, and now we do have ascension actually with a nice looking breakout. Now, it's not really a breakout. We're not really out of this range. We haven't really done anything honestly impressive. What we do see is two concurrent reversal buy signals coming in from time transformation. That was one of the things that did help me make this decision. The other, here's the thing though. We have not really in a good way come down and tested the horizontal level 74.32. I did talk about that, where I think a logical stop loss placement would, not where you should put your stop loss, but that is where retail traders would be placing their stop loss. It is obviously, as we can see here, a confirmed area of demand that did affect the market at a previous point in time. But the important thing to understand here is when we're talking about supply and demand, we do have to enter into the realm of subjectivity, because how you trade supply and demand is going to most likely be different from the way that other people trade supply and demand. So I think the best thing that we can do is look for patterns and commonalities, because as something with intrinsic value, which Bitcoin does have, there is concepts such as supply and demand. They do affect these markets, whereas they do not affect other markets that do not have intrinsic value. But since Bitcoin does have intrinsic value, we can talk about supply and demand. And I haven't talked about it for a long time. I've really focused on the raw technicals of PTP, which is where I do want people to start. But foregoing the supply and demand aspect is not conducive, I think, to having a full understanding of what we're doing here. So the important thing to understand though about horizontal levels or diagonal levels or any levels whatsoever, I'm not a big fan of levels, right? I'm not a big fan of horizontal levels. I'm not a big fan of diagonal levels or trend lines. You guys are well aware of that. And the reason why is because people tend to put too much importance on those numbers. The line doesn't matter. The market can turn around whenever it decides to turn around. Whenever the buyers step in mass and push price up, that's where it may be, or that's where it's going to be bullish. And that may or may not be on your magical level. And the worst thing that can happen, I think, to traders is really getting bogged down with these levels and assuming, well, because Justin said that level was important, or because Crown said that level was important, or because this other YouTuber said this level was important, or because my analysis says that this level is important and this level has not been hit yet, therefore I should not be taking a trade. When the important thing to realize is that, okay, you're in the vicinity of this area and you're looking for a reaction off of this area. What does a reaction look like? Well, you're looking for a cumulative behavior. And of course, one of our analysts, Alex, does agree with me. He did post a fantastic morning market update this morning for the premium members. And I do agree with him. It does seem to be a little bit accumulative. Now, again, could be redistribution. You never know until after the fact. And I do think it is a little early. Of course, I think it's inappropriate right now to be saying that this is truly a cumulative or redistributive behavior. Again, if I had to put a pin on it, I would say at this point in time that it is redistributive because of the fact that we are breaking out of a long consolidation period. We have downwards momentum, and almost all of our trending indicators are trending to the downside. Now, because of that, I do not want to be the guy on the stream calling the bottom in a bear market, or again, calling the top in a bull market. You never want to be that person. They tend not to have a very long trading lifespan. However, I do think that this is an area where we can get a trade. We'll kind of see on this one. Again, this is a riskier trade that I put on, and I don't have my entire portfolio exposed to the long side. I only have the position that is this long trade exposed to long exposure. Everything else is still hedged. I have moved my hedge over to the Z19 contract on BitMEX, and I am just taking the long exposed trade on ByBit at this point in time. So, and that's just because that's where I was already previously actively trading. So not a whole lot to talk about on that. Not in a significant amount of profit on that trade. In fact, largely right at break even. So we really haven't seen a whole lot of movement. But again, I do like the reversal buy signal. We are getting the take profit short from Minx right now. So if you were If you were looking for a reason to be out of your short or to be taking profit on your short or scaling profit out of your primary short, I think that is that was the thing to do. Now, what I do like overall, if we go down to the hourly, if we do go down to the hourly, what I do like overall, and again, this has a propensity to fail. This is why I'm kind of 60-40 on really what this is. We haven't really seen any significant break yet. In fact, it does look like this wants to come down. We are getting the reversal signal on the hourly time frame right here. We are getting the reversal sell signal from time transformation actually right now as we speak, which doesn't really surprise me. Again, if you look at this range that's been established, we really have not broken out of this range. And whether this range is cumulative or distributive, it doesn't really matter, or redistributive at this point in time, it doesn't really matter. All we know is that it's consolidation and largely trending has subsided. So we really do need to see a break. Of course, on the higher time frames, on the daily, Paralox still has us pointing to the downside. So we, of course, still are in a macro bearish trend. I.e., probably the smartest thing to be doing in these situations is looking to short from higher prices. Now, at the top of the range right here, do I think this is a good short? Well, it definitely could be. We can kind of look at the characteristics of where we're at in this range. Obviously, we do have what would be considered kind of a liquidity run right here, where we do have this high on this hourly candle. We can see that we have wicked above that. That is very classic behavior. Let me actually scroll this over so you guys can see. This is a very classic behavior of a liquidity run, of a stop loss hunt. So we get liquidity that's cleared out because where our stop's going to be placed are going to be placed right here. We have a lot of market sell orders, and this is often the behavior that we see when price is ranging, especially in Bitcoin, especially on our futures platforms as well. A little bit more exaggerated on our futures platforms as well. Those wicks can often be quite larger because of the amount of orders that you have at those specific areas, even while price action is in general quite the same across the platforms. Now what I think is a little bit more interesting is that we did see the exact same thing down here on demand. So this would be, if this is where price is going to reverse and have a significant move down and continue probably just trading in this range for the majority of the day, which is possible. What I think is a little bit more interesting is this, I would say, this more significant run on demand. So you can see that run on demand here where we have, this is the initial low coming out of the big movement to the downside. We have price consolidate for a little bit. Of course, we talked about not buying the first bounce, but buying the second bounce. And again, with potentially different degrees of success. I think that anybody that really did try to reverse long this might have been able to capture 1 or 2%, not the most profitable trade. And overall, I just think that the best thing to do with Bitcoin has been to sit on your hands. But I did start establishing a long position, and we can see this run on demand that we just had kind of coming into the right at the, I would say in the early morning hours. Of course, I do have my UTC -5 time set to my local times. This would have been 1 o'clock in the morning. So right about the time when I was snoring heavily. And, for some reason, what was I dreaming of last night? I believe that I was like paddling a canoe, and I really can't remember the rest. Like dreams just tend to fade away from me. But I was definitely paddling a canoe, and it was definitely one of those weird dreams. Like, you know what I'm talking about? A weird dream. So make of that what you will. You guys do a little bit of psychoanalysis. Hey, what's going on? From Twitch, I am a doctor. Lol says, slow down. Say that again, crack. Did Coinbase drop XRP? Is that why title says this? No. We're going to get to that later on in the news segment. Coinbase did not drop XRP. TLDR. Coinbase, Bittrex, Kraken, Grayscale Investments, and a few other companies have gotten together, and they have devised a rating system for our tokens or coins, like or not like a security. Right. And XR, so from 1 to 5, 1 being not a security whatsoever, 5 being alert. This is a security. And according to their own, again, I'll get into this in the news, but according to their own publications, they're not going to reveal any entities that do end up getting a 5, because by definition, they're only going to be reviewing tokens or coins that they list. So if something were a 5, by definition, they would not be listing that because it would be a security, and they're not going to list security. So XRP got a 4. So that's pretty nasty. Pasteleu en canoes, the French translation for paddle your canoe. Oh man. Okay. So finishing up here on Bitcoin, what do we really see here? Again, not a whole lot of selling pressure currently right now, even though we have tapped that area of supply, which is the top of the range right here. I'm still a little bit biased to the upside. Of course, that could be because I am in an active long. Obviously we have our 1 hour parallax, which did get us long right around up here. Of course, we also got the trending signal from Minx and of course Wadatar explosion as well. So a lot of we're going to uncolor price bars, I think, is what I want to do with this one. And that one's okay. So obviously a lot of, just any trending indication would have got you into the market right around this area. You'd be writing that. I would definitely be looking to take some profits right now if you have not established some profits already on this long trade. Obviously, we can see the long coming in from Minx right about right here. Wadatar explosion actually gives you the long signal right there as well. Yeah, so a little late to react, but again, getting you in for a profit potential of about 4%. You'd be capturing the majority of that right now. So I would be looking to take profits, and then we'll just kind of see what happens from here. So if I were intraday trading this, and I was trading the hourly or something like that, I'd be just taking profits off of my long. I don't really feel like I'd want to be establishing a short to trade the range because of the risk of potentially breaking above this level and flipping this as support. But that's just my personal preference. You guys trade however you'd like to. If we go to Volatility Expander, Volatility Expander would not have us in for the short yet. Volatility Expander wants to see price come down below 82.16 and close the hourly below that level before we were looking for like a $100 movement down to 81.16 or maybe a $200 movement down to 80.10 is what the ATR bands are saying. Other than that, let's go back to the daily. I do think the daily is interesting. There's not a whole lot, honestly, to talk about. We are just trading in a range, and you can see that very clearly on the hourly time frame. Just trading in a fairly loose range, to be quite honest with you. And I think honestly, I've talked about this before. This is where your reversal indicators are going to work well until they don't. If you are able to accurately trade the range, this is where trending indicators, especially on these time frames, don't become ultimately helpful, but they can. If you are using a slightly lower time frame. Again, I don't think the hourly is doing it quite well here. The 30 will get you in okay, but you need to be referencing that if you're going to be trading in this strategy of kind of trading the range. You need to be looking at the hourly or something like that and, marking off these levels of supply and demand and then looking for trending confirmation once you reach about the 25% range of the range, right? So obviously that would be, you'd be looking for your trending indications to give you a short signal right around here. And we already talked about that. Volatility expander is a great metric for that because again, closing below the upper band here is going to be a reversal signal for those who are trading reversals or reversion of the mean strategies. So, and that level, again, is coming in at 82.16. So getting a nice close below that level would be a good confirmation indicator. And of course, we have waning momentum on Wadatar explosion right here. We can see our green columns falling off. And of course, we are going to be getting the exit signal on this hourly candle here in about 38 minutes from Minx. Minx crossing down below, noise into static, which is an exit signal in and of itself. And of course, we did end up getting depending on how you're trading it, you could say that we got the long signal down here when we did get the crossover right here on this candle right here. But then the true trending signal did come here on the long about halfway through the range, right? So not as early as you'd want to get in. And you did have about 2 candles of drawdown for about negative 0.63%, but then you did pop up and make about 4% on the trade. You'd be capturing about 3.5% if you go ahead and take profit right now. So anyways, that's about it. Look for these trending short signals. We'll watch this, kind of over the course of the show. We'll watch for this trending signal to the downside. Maybe there will be an intraday trade to the downside. But I kind of would be a little bit biased to the upside unless I think at this point in time, unless we do end up coming down and obviously forming a lower low, because we can see that, we can kind of see that pattern playing out as well. Let's take volume off here so the price is a little bit clearer. If we didn't, we've got a lower low, now we do end up forming a higher low. So I would like to see this higher low hold. I'd like to see that higher low hold. I would like to see a higher low be established. On top of that, and we've talked about this pattern before. I've talked about this at length, right? You have a level of resistance. I like to see that test. I like to see a higher low formed directly, above the median. Here's the range. Where's the median of the range? Right here. Okay, there's the median of the range right there. I like to see a higher low form above the median and then the breakout. I feel generally pretty confident about taking those breakout trades when I do see those. When we've tested resistance 2 or 3 times, we end up kind of, there's a lot here that's positive, right? So let's kind of like list everything. And yes, we're talking price action, but again, it's interesting to talk about today. Now for the daily traders, we've done nothing but for those who are following BTP on the daily, this is very simple. And I want to put this in reference for those of you who are watching. Like, but Justin, this isn't like daily PTP. I just want to put this in reference for you guys, right? We made 40% on EOS, okay? And we made 20% on Bitcoin, trading the daily, taking the short. We don't really need to do anything on the daily except for look for the next strong trending signal to the downside. And as I talked about on the daily, we are biased to reshort at higher levels. So for, there's really nothing to do here on the daily. The interest obviously is going to be in the alt BTC markets for those who are doing their diligent daily scans. There's been lots of opportunities over there in those markets. But on the daily, especially for a lot of the viewers who are looking to understand supply and demand, and who are looking to, just be a little bit more active on the daily, and depending on, however successful that may or may not be, I think having that good foundation of trading on the daily or trading on the higher time frames, and then being able to take that down to the lower time frames. What do you do on the lower time frames? You trade with like less risk, and you do have to have a good hit rate. You have to be trading with something that is verifiable. You have to be trading with something that is back testable. You have to be trading with something that is statistical, and you can get all those numbers from your trading journal. So for example, one thing that you can do is if you think that you can trade price action well, then here's what I recommend. Trade with something like 0.1% risk per trade, right? That means you can have 10 losing trades and only lose 10% of your account. Or excuse me, 1% of your account. I misspoke. I apologize. And do that for a month. Okay. Obviously, if you reach 3% of your account loss, I would stop trading. But I would trade in that fashion. And if you are able to consistently generate profits, then again, you have the statistics to back up that you do have a profitable strategy. If you do have a profitable strategy, then just incorporate the psychology and the money management that is going to be successful for you. The problem with trading the lower time frames a lot is that the psychology is a rolling stone and it compounds upon itself. The stress of intraday trading is often too much for people to handle for a very long period of time. Even the highest tier professional traders tend to tap out trading the 5-minute chart, trading the 15-minute chart, trading the 30-minute chart, day in and day out for months and months and months and months and months. They just burn out, man. It's very stressful. I know because I've done it. Okay. Anyways, so that's what I would be watching for that breakout. And there's a lot here. I do want to list all the positives. We have a run on demand, right? We have that run on demand that occurs right down here. We have the potential to form a higher low above the median of the range. And we've also tested this level of resistance 3 times now. So testing this resistance 3 times now, forming a little bit of a higher low, and then getting that nice breakout, I think would be quite positive. And I would be biased to go to the daily here and look for potential targets. Of course, if we look at Quadriga, Quadriga is going to have us taking trades up to, let's take a look here. 86.97, 91.29, and 95.63. Of course, we're not really getting the best. We're not really looking at a trending trade. So, one would want to test their strategy with these take profit targets. But I would be comfortable with that 86.95. I feel quite okay with that. That would basically be on a higher, kind of on a wider view here, just a retest of this overall high of this range that we've established here, right? We've got the low of the range established here. And we've got the high of the range established up here. So 87.46. And again, that's 86.91. So again, just right around in that general vicinity, man. Be Smooth. Thanks so much for the subscription over there on YouTube, my friend. Let's go to, I don't know why that's still in there. Let's go look where interestingly enough, the daily Kijun is still all the way up at 93.31, all right? All the way up at 93.31. I would right now, and I don't think it's necessarily appropriate to have them there yet, but if we look at where the daily Kijun is coming in at, and we kind of see that is also congruent with our previous level of support, our previous level of demand around that 9,300 level, 93.20, 93.31, that is where I would be optimally looking to reshort if we can get a retest up there. And honestly, That's really negative if we see that for the long term on Bitcoin. I already talked about, re-implementing the dollar cost averaging strategy. That is now in effect. As Bitcoin's price continues to go lower and lower, I will begin dollar cost averaging back into a spot position on Bitcoin. Not that I was ever out of one, but I'm talking about accumulating Bitcoin for the long term. So I do it under specific circumstances. So obviously I was not buying spot Bitcoin when Bitcoin was running up. I was buying spot Bitcoin as the price was moving down. That is the way to do it if you are accumulating Bitcoin for investment, for a long-term hold. And now that we have broken down out of what I would say is a short-term or medium-term bullish trend, I will begin doing that again. Because that is when you do it. You buy Bitcoin when it's going down, not when it's going up. But again, that is not for trading purposes. That is for investment purposes and long-term hold purposes. Thank you so much, the name of. Highly appreciated, my good friend. So if we do see price come back up here and reject previous demand, 93.30, 9300, that's not necessarily good. Any movement can get faked out. We could see that, and then, price can come down, form a little bit of a higher low, and then rocket up to the moon. Anything could happen. But overall, I mean, just from a very raw, traditional technical analysis standpoint, that's, a very classic case of support being flipped into resistance. And again, as it stands right now, since we are in bearish territory, that's where optimally I would be looking to reshort. Now, it's possible the price does not make it all the way up there. So again, we'll just be looking to play this as the market unfolds, right? But I would be hesitant for taking a trending signal on the way to the upside. The nice thing about being hesitant is that Parallax, Minx, Watertar Explosion, these things backtest so well and they've performed so well, and one can verify this with their own back testing and forward testing, that you just do what they say. You're going to have losing trades, but overall you make money, which is really, really nice, man. What's up, Crypto Caveman? Gloomy cold day in Toronto, my friend. Ken D, I'm sorry, man. You are going crazy over there. You were talking about silver. You're talking about the Bitcoin parabola. How are you doing this morning, man? Hopefully you're doing absolutely fantastic, brother. I just get into talking about Bitcoin. And I can't help myself. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. Bias to the upside, watching for that kind of intraday breakout right now. And we talked about that, high or low. And I feel that's invalidated if we end up going down below that median level. So, right around 80, 90, I feel like that idea would be invalidated. So as usual, the things that I develop, they go to the group. I might be looking to make my version of Fisher Transform public. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to kind of ask the group. If a lot of people in the group use it, which I think that they do, it'll just kind of come down to them, what they feel is fair. You know what I mean? What they feel is fair. But yeah, Parallax will be for the group, and I planned to release it this week. It might end up being a little bit longer. Shouldn't be too long. I mean, there's no logical errors in the code. All I need to do really right now is add some bells and whistles and make sure that I have a strategy for it, and that I make all the supporting documentation for it, and that it's the way that I want to visually present it. Okay. Let's go take a look at Ethereum. Look it over there on the Finex. Okay. Kind of the same thing, but again, a little bit more bullish activity coming in from Ethereum. And I don't know what it is. When I kind of zoom out and look at looking at Ethereum's price, listen, don't mind me, guys. Just sometimes you just wish you were back up around here. You know what I'm saying? It always feels better when you're kind of just up around this area. You know what I'm saying? And then you just kind of watch this, as an investor, for a long time. You just kind of watch this, right? And you're like, man, what are we doing here? Wally, you never followed us on Twitch, man? Love you, brother. Hopefully you're doing good. Okay. Yeah, but that's anybody could do that. I see them do that on C-SPAN all the time. CNN, maybe. CNBC, Squawk Box. I don't know, one of those two. Let's talk about it. We did end up getting the take profit short signal on this candle to the upside. And, it's a good thing. We didn't really end up going down a whole lot below that. I'd already talked about, the same day where we didn't end up getting the same day where we did end up getting the take profit signal on Bitcoin, or the crossover on Bitcoin for Minx. Kind of, I took it early, and I was glad that I did, because obviously we haven't had a lot of opportunities to sell a little bit lower. I mean, you might have been able to catch it and cover your short today when we kind of had that wick down. But again, it's just a lot better to be covering things on daily closing bases, where we actually have verifiable data and how we actually do the majority of our trading. So that's how that's what we did. So the same thing would have been true with Ethereum as well, because they just move in lockstep. Obviously, Ethereum moving with a little bit more bullishness this morning. And I haven't really done anything with Ethereum. There are times when it's appropriate to trade other proxies, but then there's just times where you just trade Bitcoin, because you're going to get the same kind of exposure, just a little bit more volatility over here on Ethereum. A couple things here. Obviously, Parallax giving us the short signal right here. And one way that I would look for confirmation of this is looking up at Minx and seeing if the Minx line is below the noise line, which of course it is. That is going to be our confirmation there. One could use, time transformation as well. Obviously, we can see that Fisher is below the signal line with this example, of course. But anyways, we do get, right over here. Parallax gets a short on this candle. Excuse me, it's this candle right here. It's not until the next candle that we actually get the short signal from Minx, and that's okay. And obviously the same thing on, Watertar Explosion as well. What is nice, though, of course, is that we just look to Bitcoin, which is the big daddy of them all, and trading, using Ethereum as a proxy for Bitcoin would have given you a lot better nuance on this trade, and actually make a good profit off of it. So even if you only captured this candle right here, and again, there's a theory here that is true no matter how you trade. You see a big candle like this, and you want to take some profit, right? And again, that is the whole point of setting an initial take profit. But just assuming that you don't, when you see anything that's a double-digit candle, you need to nab some profit. Doesn't mean just blow your load all at once and get out of the trade completely. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but it does mean you would kind of be a fool right now to not take some profit. Does Bitcoin have a 1-decade candle yet? Let's see if we can do that. Seconds, minutes, hours. I'd have to account for leap years. Let's do, there we go. 3,650 days. Is it going to let us do that? It doesn't want us to do that. Does not like it. What about 120 weeks? Come on, man. Nah, it won't let us. Okay, what about... Oh, sorry, 120 months. Tripping. Nah, it's not letting us do this. Oh, because we're on ETHUSD. Come on, man. Bitstamp. Let's see if we can do it over there. Sorry. Negative. Does not like it, man. Sorry. It would just be whoop. Okay, so Let's go back and look over at ETH. All right, back on the daily. We do have, obviously, on this candle, we're getting the time transformation cross up. Watertar explosion is now printing below the explosion level. Of course, we already got the take profit short over here. Honestly, not a whole lot to do. We don't have any trending signals at the moment right now. One would have been looking for a reversal signal right here. One would be looking for a reversal signal potentially right here. I don't have a whole lot of conviction, even though I am a little bit more bullish on Bitcoin than this. I'd still rather just take the Bitcoin trade. I'd still rather just take the Bitcoin trend. And ETH Bitcoin, you know, again, very interesting chart. We'll go look at that here in just a little bit. Let's go down and look at the LTFs for Bitcoin, or for Ethereum here. And we don't really see the same, we don't really see that same drive into demand. We don't really see that same drive into demand here on the 4-hour time frame. Let's kind of go look at how Parallax would have had us doing this. And of course, on the 4-hour, we do get the short signal, and this keeps us all short through all this. Does get us long here, which isn't a fantastic trade. We do get a little chop here, which is good. That's why we need confirmation. Watertar explosion largely has us not trading this range. You're below the explosion level for almost all of this. And yeah, you do, you know, obviously get kind of bullish at this point in time right here. Your trending indicators do start going off. You can reference this with a higher time frame to stay out of the chop. And then right here, you're kind of out of the trade here as well. Now, we are getting some bullish indications here. I'd be a little hesitant to be taking this trade, though, of course, because we're not getting something on the daily. Of course, daily's fairly neutral. And on the... and we don't have that, again, we don't have that drive down into demand that I do really like to see. It's just a lot more cleaner over on Bitcoin. And less clean over here on Ethereum. But we'll see. We'll see if we can get that kind of same thing. Either, you know, this level flipped, or if we can get, again, yet another higher low formed off of this level. I would expect to see a little bit more ranging from Ethereum here, though. But it's going to follow Bitcoin. It's ultimately going to follow Bitcoin's direction. Don't have an active trade on Ethereum. Don't feel like it's appropriate to have one at this point in time. If I'm going to be trading any kind of reversal on a major dollar pair, it's going to be on Bitcoin. So let's go down to... Somebody had asked for the ETH Bitcoin chart, which is fine. Let's go look at that. So here's my thoughts on the ETH Bitcoin chart. Let me kind of formulate them here. Okay, so we have not flipped back over to the long side trend-wise. We did flip negative here for our bearish trend right here. You can see Parallax still has a short. Has not flipped over to the long side. You know, I did end up taking a short position on this right, you know, again, right here at these highs because it did seem, because again, I thought we were going to see, and I still do, think that we're going to see at some point a nice little recovery bounce on Bitcoin, which tends to put our, which does tend to put our, Bitcoin pairs down, right? Bitcoin to the dollar moves up. We see our alt Bitcoin pairs move to the downside. Depending on how the daily candle closes, I might rethink this. I don't, just as with Bitcoin, you know, Bitcoin came down to the bottom of the range. And a lot of people were like, should we get rid of the long? No, we're just retesting the bottom of the range. And I kind of feel the same way here. We have put in this lower high. And, you know, Ethereum is stretching back up. Again, hasn't really taken out anything significantly. And again, hasn't really given us a good, strong signal. A lot of low volatility. And again, it would not be, obviously it's too early to call that same kind of consolidation that we saw with Bitcoin with this kind of pattern, but still something that could definitely happen. Yeah. I think I would want to see 2 consecutive candles close. Yeah, I'd want to see 2 consecutive candles close right now to exit my position, or of course if my stop loss gets hit. But I'm going to hold this for right now. I don't really have any new comments or thoughts on this because I don't really see any data here that invalidates my thesis. Crypto Bug, good morning to you, man. Yeah, again, at the end of the day, I'm going to have to wait and see how the daily candle closes to really base anything that I'm going to do here on the higher time frames. But you know, I'll be honest with you guys. This is macro more bullish than it is bearish. You know, obviously we have, you know, a steep Well, again, depends on what you call like macro, right? You know, look at this chart. Is this chart more macro bullish or bearish, right? You tell me. Just because it's, you know, just because it's low. But I mean, obviously we have had some significant bullish movements here. We're probably above, let's check our Kijun. Yeah, we're above our Kijun. In fact, that's exactly where price came down. Reversal baseline bounce. One would have made a beautiful trade with that. You know, we're trending to the upside. Minx is bullish. Wadatar Explosion is like tentatively bullish. You know, again, yes, it's overall bullish. We've had some candles below the dead zone. It's not the cleanest. You know, obviously this is a lot more powerful, and that obviously we can see the strength of the trend. We can see overall compared to this last movement waning volume, which again, something that I am taking into account as well, because we have to understand that Minx is not measuring relative momentum. Wadatar Explosion is capable of showing that relative momentum, and you can see the weakness of this bullish momentum as opposed to this bullish momentum, which is actually a good, nice trend. And again, we get pretty much, you know, any trending indicator is going to have you in right around here. Of course, Parallax does go long here and then gets kind of faked out here for one candle and then gets you long again. Keeps you in for there. And then Minx gets you in for the initial movement here. And so does Time Transformation, Wadatar Explosion, and get you in for the continuation there as well. $30Ks past September, April, June, and November. Correct. We are going to get a monthly closure today. This will be the first bullish monthly candle, I think, of significance in a while. But again, nothing extremely significant. Let's go to actually a little bit more data. Finex for just a little bit more monthly data. There's really nothing important here to talk about. It's far, far too early to really have any kind of macro opinion on Bitcoin on a higher time frame scale like the monthly here. Let's bring up CCEMA. Is there anything here of import to talk about? No, there's nothing. There's nothing here of really import to talk about. Hey, good to see you, Esmalal. Hopefully you're killing it with the new Pine development, man. On the weekly for Bitcoin, yeah, man. Still a bearish. Parallax is still bearish weekly. And again, you know, this is a pretty good indication of when to be long. Now, we might be getting a bullish signal coming in here on the weekly, but Wadatar Explosion is just not there. And you know, Wadatar's got a long area to come off of here, honestly. You use knuckle months to remember. Hey, man, don't talk about your girlfriend like that. Moving right along, let's go over to BTC USD. Look at the monthly on BTC USD. I think maybe we'll do this tomorrow. But I've seen some pretty interesting charts, and I kind of want to give my opinions on them. I don't really have them pulled up at this point in time, but I didn't kind of prepare to go over them. But you know, there's one that is you know, looking at this as one big descending triangle. There is one that is looking at this. You know, some people are obviously talking about the differences of moving averages. Nav Sidhu, thank you so much for the sub over there on YouTube, my good friend. But on the monthly, again, we did talk about this as well, more in reference to the weekly. But again, on the monthly, we do see the way that things are going to close is, of course, Wadatar Explosion, the first monthly candle closing below the explosion level since May, where we did get, obviously, the first long signal, both from Minx. And again, that monthly signal would have gotten us in for all of this. Now, of course, we did take this on the daily. And, of course, Time Transformation did give us our first ever, except for right here as well, to get the reversal signal on the monthly for the first time back here, back in March of 2015, and the second time back over here in February of 2019. And, you know, what's interesting about this is closure above the baseline, immediate closure back below, and then rejection from the 30-period Kijun over here. Looking at the EMAs, I'm not exactly sure this is supremely appropriate. We are coming down to test our EMAs right now. But again, I don't really utilize that form of analysis on the monthly. with consistency. So I'm not going to try to force it upon you guys because that's not going to make any sense. But yeah, this is going to be the first monthly where we have a Minx cross under, which is pretty negative. Time transformation hasn't crossed under yet. It's not as sensitive as Minx. Minx is a little bit more sensitive. In the realm of, it's just different, man. They're just different indicators. They measure different things. Sometimes one moves a little bit faster. Sometimes the other moves a little bit faster. It just kind of depends on the overall market structure. Now we're not going to be catching. With the exception of the massive run up, I don't think we're going to be capturing very good movements here on the monthly. I think it's, and so that with the lack of data that Bitcoin has, you kind of have to, obviously when you look at this, when you're talking about relative prices, unless you look at this on the logarithmic scale, which I don't think is extremely germane, I don't think that's really appropriate to do. It's very difficult to get, relative ideas of price, because again, you come down here on the logarithmic scale, literally halfway, you're at $500, right? So the logarithmic scale is not appropriate to charting this. Okay, the linear scale is appropriate to charting this, unless you're doing some whack-a-noodlery, right? The only reason you put the logarithmic scale on here, in my opinion, is it doesn't make sense. There's no purpose to applying the logarithmic scale to this for trading purposes, because you're talking about relative prices, right? You can say on the logarithmic scale that relatively 500 is an important level, okay? We're not going to be talking about the $500 price level right now when we're sitting at 8,257. Minx. Ken D. Minx says. Pay you cuz. Well, we don't allow link posting in the chat because there's just too many issues with that, but you're happy to post it and then put a space in it, and I'll check it out. Matt Use Wenta, thanks so much for joining us over there on YouTube as well, my friend. All right, it is now 12:51. We have now talked about Bitcoin and Ethereum and long-term charts for literally an hour. And there are 227 of you watching. And you guys aren't asking very many questions. So either I'm not being very entertaining, or I'm just doing a goddamn bang-up job. Let me know in the comments section, guys. Let me know in the chat. I just gotta assume that you're all confused. Let's go look at XRP. How is XRP responding? Oh, no, probably not like that. Probably more like this, huh? Okay, there's a lot of lines on this chart. Okay. Yep. I got this bias where I don't like Fibonacci. I don't think it works very well, and I'm not a big fan of lines, wrong line, right line game. So, this is going to need a little bit of, I'm going to need some words for this, my friend. Thank you so much, Tudis. Mr. Ether says, I'm too well informed for questions. When moon. Q4 2020. GD BUG. Good day. Good day. Buy up Justin. Yes. Bang up. Thank you so much, Nature Band. Highly appreciated. Ooh, dang. Ferguson coming hardcore. There's Ripple fight to keep XRP above 24 cents. Seems to be a very strong support level. I would assume so, yes. Market makers would. Okay, so I'll give my commentary on this. And again, I don't mean this to be disparaging, man. But here's the thing, dude. There's just so many lines on here, dude. Like, you know, this is my problem with Fibonacci. My problem with lines is that, you know, unless there's literally a story that goes along with charts like this, they're not very helpful, right? I almost meet literally nobody that actually makes or acts off of a Fibonacci chart like this. But I'll try my best. This line right here, I assume we're looking at this gray line maybe as a level of support. It was violated here, and it was also violated here. It did not act as resistance, and it's only been respected once with a fake and once with an actual touch. So something that's 50-50, I don't have a strong opinion that it will be supported here, even if I do have a bullish bias. I don't find any statistical relevance to any fib extension levels. Regardless of what people say, I've studied them so much, dude, and they just don't tend to work that well, man. They work once in a while, and when they do, you're like, hallelujah, it worked this one time. I knew it. Should have listened to Phil Acone more. And, you know, when it does work, you know, again, you feel like that. But then there's 97,000 times where it doesn't matter where you draw your fib lines, where the 618, the 786, the 886, the 1.618 doesn't do anything except, you know, bat an eye. And then again, the analysis paralysis that can come along with having too many lines is, again, most people just don't act off that. You know, the ideal scenario, I think the idea that's put out when Fibonacci is taught to traders is it's like, okay, dude, you're going to sell. You're going to buy the 618. It's going to bounce up to the 236. You're going to sell again. You're going to short down to the 786. You're going to buy up. Then it's going to bounce in an ABC retracement Elliott wave to the 0.5. We're going to sell that level, and then we're going to take it down to the 2.618, buy that up. That's going to come back up to the 1.618, sell that level back down to the 3.618. That's where we're going to accumulate for the long term, and we're going to ride that to the macro XYZ flat bottom truncated wave to the upside with the wingling. And I know that's very disparaging, so I'm very sorry if I upset you. But my point is with that, that almost never happens. Nobody trades that way, in my opinion, or that I've met. Nobody actually does that. People say that they do, and they have charts that look like this. But the orders that they're putting are really not. They're like, well, I'm going to wait for a reaction. And then it hits the 786, and they're like, okay, I'm just going to wait. And then they wait, and it does end up bouncing off the 786. And then it's like far away, and they're like, oh, well, it's too late to buy now, right? And it's like, ye gods, what was the point of this damn thing in the first place? I love you, man. I'm not sure what you want me to point out on this, man. Oh, we're going to get to this in a second. Okay, it's 12:57. We got to start winding up for the break. And then we're going to come back. We got a lot of news to talk about. It's an exciting day. We'll take a look at the Forex markets, of course, for the Forex traders, and we'll show this. But here, actually, let's go ahead and do this, and then we'll have a word from our sponsors, and then we'll go to break, okay? So I'm going to unmute my speakers and make sure that that is where I'm defaulting volume to, right here. We're going to talk about that right after the break, brother. Okay, so this is from Blurbs over on Twitter at Crypto Blurbs, and this is going to be XRP math. All right, so this is where XRP's price is going to go according to Crypto Blurbs.
That's a circle. That's a circle right there. It's got a radius and it's got a circumference, but you know what? It's not a triangle, and that's what we're in. We're in the triangle days of XRP, boys and girls. We're really gonna make it. I can tell because of this bullshit math I've pulled out of my ass, and here it is. So put your life savings into this shit, and it's totally gonna go up. Maybe even, I don't know. Look at this number I'm gonna write down. This is pretty cool. Check that out. How do you like that number? Now that's a number right there, and I put some stuff on it, and that's just XRR. We can get rid of the extra R. I just wanted to put that there because I'm a big fan of pirates. Well, I'm a guy that really understands math, and fuck this number. This number's shit, and this number's the new number. We might even go as high as, say, I don't know. Look at this. I can even write this many numbers. That's pretty big, I think.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Blurbs. Highly appreciated, my friend. Those are some big numbers, man. Those are some big numbers, man. Thank you so much. Okay. On that note, as a trader, I'm often asked what metrics I use to evaluate an exchange, whether or not I want to trade on them. And I always say the same thing. Security, ease of use, and customer service. Break those down for you guys real quick. Ease of use, a platform has to be simple for me to use. It can't have a lot of clunky features. You get this all the time with crypto exchanges. And I really like ByBit. That's the exchange that I trade on. It's easy to use, but there's advanced order features if you want to do some more advanced stuff, which is totally fine. And they've got new features that they're constantly rolling out. Security. Here's the thing, man. With security in crypto exchanges, not your keys, not your coins. We know this. It's an old adage. It rests true. You're going to have to take your own security into account. What I do like about trading on platforms that allow you to utilize margin and leverage is that you can deposit less of your funds, less of your Bitcoin or whatever your cryptocurrency of choice is, onto the exchange and use margin to take the correct position size. So just with 3x leverage, you can actually only deposit 1/3 of your equity, keep the other 2/3 in cold storage where they are safe, and utilize margin to responsibly trade your position size. I think that's the best form of security, right? And that's why I will always, until things drastically change with DEXs, until we get better liquidity on DEXs, trade in this fashion rather than on spot exchanges for the majority of what I do. But customer service, I really mean this. I say this all the time, man. You just got to go find for yourself. I haven't found a crypto exchange with customer support in reality besides ByBit. They actually have good stuff. So anyways, guys, if you want to trade, if you're looking for a Bitcoin platform of your own, if you're tired of the big ass wicks on BitMEX wicking you out, BitMEX is a shady exchange. I don't like a whole lot that they do. Yes, it's popular. And do I still trade on there? Yes, I do. But ByBit is far superior. Anyways, there's a link in the description down below. This is the literally last day of this. So I just wanted to mention it. That's why I wanted to throw in a word from ByBit today. If you guys use that link, people say this, but no, literally that link of ours, you will actually get extra money for clicking that link. If you deposit 0.1 BTC, it's $100. 0.2, it's $200. Again, that was only good for September, so it's the last day. That's why I'm mentioning it. If you want to get extra cash, link is in the description. Bybit.krakencryptocurrency.com or bybit.com/a/cc. Yeah, something like that. Just trying to get you guys free money. Now, Dubitat Ebrius, what's up, my brother? He says, good day. Jay and the CC crew, can you take a peek at Link BTC for me, please? Yes, thank you so much for the generous $5 quid, my brother. I will take a look at that as soon as I return from the break. We're going to take a quick break right now so we can refuel the gasoline for the moon rocket and also refill our coffee. We'll be right back, starting off with Link, the news, and Forex, guys. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the channel, guys. And we are live, and we are going, and we are rocking, and we are rolling. Okay, man. So much to talk about. So much to do. Let's get on to the next little bit. Link BTC, of course. For Mr. Dubitat Ebrius. The one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. All right. Let's start off on the daily and just kind of zoom out. Obviously, a lot of interest on Link. It is one of the better performing altcoins in recent time. Obviously had that nice big run up when a lot of the market was trending to the downside. And of course, kind of the joke back at that time, I believe we were actually back here at this point in time as possible. Yeah, this was back in February and everything, was that Link did not give any crap whatsoever about the bear market. Of course, you know, one of the guys that I like following over there on the Twitter is going to be, I think it's XYZZ. Pretty good. He's been posting some fairly damning stuff about Link and its development wallet, that they have been dumping funds out of their development wallet and making their way onto, I believe it is Binance is where the ultimate area is. Now, of course, those are some more fundamental things. What have we seen from Link overall before we get into what the indicators are saying is just a complete successive series of lower highs and lower highs, obviously trending to the downside, followed with successive lower lows. If we did have another lower low, kind of following this, God forbid, I'm going to put a trend line on this thing. Sorry in advance. Hopefully I didn't trigger, I'm not triggering any PTP traders around here. But let's just like find the best line that fits right around around this area, right around like that. I think that's pretty good. It's a good fit line. That's typically my philosophy when it comes to stuff that doesn't work that well, is just find a line that pretty much fits. And of course, we kind of have a line that's, you know, like rough ass fits right about here in this area right here. Okay, now do I look at that? Obviously, oh, hey, look at this. Price is slightly above this channel. Does that mean we are witnessing a breakout? Well, since I don't really use this stuff anyways, I'm just using this for demonstration purposes to basically talk about the range. No, I do not, because I do not like diagonal levels. I'm not even sure that they are quite a thing. However, if we were to continue in this range, we would be forming somewhat of a lower low right around this level right here, which would be coming in right about 11,000 Satoshis and potentially buy up that area. I don't know. That's also going to correspond with a demand area, yes, and an order block. Let's go zoom in on that. Of course, we do have this pretty steep higher low when we were in a bullish market, in a bullish trend on Link, as opposed to where we are right now. And of course, if we actually map out that order block with a couple horizontal lines, we are going to see that that level is, again, right around that 10,000, actually 11,000, let's just say 11,000. 10,979 up to 11,614. I think that would be a pretty good downside target. That lines up pretty good with all this other subjective stuff that we've been able to draw on this chart. Do I trade like this? No, not really, but I will not discount the demand zone. I will not discount that area. And of course, we have seen these pretty significant bounces off of Link in this area. Again, nice 30-40% bounces. So definitely something that is tradable. Again, this latest bounce was about 42%. What would my bias be right now as just looking at the overall range? I'd probably be trying to sell this area, especially with multiple sell signals coming in from time transformation. Now, Parallax doing a good job. Parallax does have you long on this, has had you long. Again, we just looked at this. Parallax is going to get you into a trend. So it does get you in about the halfway mark in the consolidation and does put you in for a nice 15-17% movement to the upside. And now, again, we get those sell signals coming in from time transformation on the daily, and I think those are good things to be listening to. We have Minx, which has crossed underneath, giving you the nice sell signal. Minx gave you the reversal signal right down here on the 15th of September. Let's go back and look. 15th of September right here. Minx basically said go long and actually did not cross underneath until over here. So Minx actually trading, using it as a reversal indicator, captured the entire breadth of that movement. And again, looking at the market structure, I think that you want to be paying attention to those things the next time that we're down around this price area, around 11,000. So again, we can also see the waning momentum coming in here from Wadatar explosion, as we can kind of see just like that. I would be biased to sell this at this point in time. But a lot of that is BTC dependent. There is a large part of me that thinks we're, again, let's Control Z that. I ended up deleting the wrong level. There is a large part of me that is open to the idea that we are going to see, God, I hate to say it, but alt season. Obviously, I think it's time. There's a lot that points to that level. But looking at this structurally, I would say that I think Link probably wants to come back down around this time right now. And it's going to take... What would change my bias right now? Okay. Well, as we can see right here, when we get above the Kijun over here, right? When we get above the Kijun over here, we fall back down, kind of setting ourselves up for a reversal baseline bounce. But what happens? We do end up crossing and closing below the Kijun right here on the 22nd of August, excuse me. And again, that heralds the downwards movement because, of course, we do get the short trending signal from Minx. We don't really get confirmation from Wadatar explosion until over here, but still, if you were able to short Link, that does set you up for a nice profitable trade to the downside here. Very similarly to getting the long signal from Minx and WADA right over here, where one could have taken the trade like that. So I would be biased to think that we're kind of at the top of this and to not be buying in the Link right now at this point in time. I think if we do end up coming, let's actually put those back on there. I think if we do end up coming back down to the Kijun right around the 18,474 level, and if that level does hold, then of course you've got a reversal baseline bounce situation, and I'd look to take that to the upside, my friend. Now, what would I be looking? Obviously, now let's talk about PTP. We're above the Kijun. Wadatar explosion is bullish, Parallax is bullish, and Minx is overall green. We're above the initiation level. Now, I would be watching obviously Minx pretty closely here. See if we can get a continuation trade on Minx because Wada agrees, and we don't listen. You know, obviously time transformation is an aspect right here, but we are curling right here. That is something coiling. That is a phenomenon that we see when we can see. Well, we can see it when we get continuation. We can also see it when we get reversals. Now, overall, I would want to be listening to time transformation, especially giving a daily sell signal right now. I think it's highly unlikely that we do end up getting this crossover today on Minx, but let's wait and see on Link, and I don't think we should take any action right now. Let's see how the daily closes, and again, of course, if we do end up getting this Minx crossover to the upside, that's a continuation trade, and you look to take the continuation long. Okay, that's going to be intra-trade. For a macro view, I would be biased to be looking to sell this area, and I'd be looking, if this does kind of play out as it has been playing out, just kind of trading in this descending channel, and be looking to pay attention around the next demand area around 11,000 sats. Okay. So I want to take, obviously, Dubitat, thank you so much for the generous donation. I want to segue from this a little bit and get into the news, and then we'll come back and we'll look at some Forex pairs, and we'll also look at, what do you guys got? XRP, ALGO, and ZAG. Of course, I'd be happy to look at ZAG, especially for Mr. Ken D. Let's pull up, I want to pull up in my show notes here and note those down. Thanks, guys. Highly appreciate it from the moderators. ZAG, ALGO. Satoshi Nakafomo was able to get in at 77, 67, 50 with a 10x long. Yes, I got lucky. Any thoughts on what area I should take profit? Well, we haven't seen a big spike, man. And overall, my first opinion would be, since we are in an overall bearish structure on BTC, if we end up getting a nice big fuck you candle to the upside, definitely be looking to take some profits there. We did kind of talk about, just want to kind of touch on this real quick. We did kind of talk about those levels just previously. Looking at Quadriga, we are kind of looking at that $8,600 area. That's where I definitely want to be scaling out some profit. Again, that's kind of a retouch at the top of the range. There is an argument to be said that, hey, we are at the top of the range right here, so right now may not be a bad idea. But again, we are potentially forming that higher low that we just talked about right now, where we talked about the testing of this resistance 3 times. We do, you know, obviously, if you guys go back to the beginning, you know, we've established a range here. We have the median of the range right around here. And we'll be looking for a breakout, as always, kind of forming a higher low and then actually breaking above that level. So I'd definitely hold on to that right now. Of course, I have a long open, so I'm biased to the upside. What am I going to tell you? Yeah, dump the long? No, that means I'm basically saying I have no confidence in my ability to take in my long position. I have confidence in my long position. If we get a nice spike, or if we do see a failed rejection from this level, I think that's a really good entry, man. You know, maybe right now is not a bad idea to maybe take like 10, 20% profit and start maybe scaling your stop loss up. Definitely put your stop loss at break even. You don't want to lose money on the trade, especially if you've already made a nice 5%. Kind of depends on what your thoughts are for the trade. If you know, you're at 8% right now, if you're really trying to establish a position for the long term, then I don't really want to advise you on that, because that's going to come down to your personal investment decisions. But from the standpoint of trading, I mean, you've had a nice 8% gain right now. I definitely look to take a little bit of profit, 10 to 20% profit, move your stop loss to break even, and then we can just start scaling that stop loss up as if, as, and when price starts breaking to the upside. Okay, let's get into the news, gentlemen. I feel like I have no noise gate on, and I don't. I have no noise gate on. So let's turn that noise gate on. Noise gate is now on. Okay. Okay, now this is all over the place now today. Just looking at my phone earlier, this is now on Forbes. This is now on the Wall Street Journal. But this is pretty much the story of the day. And really what I want to focus on here, guys. Coinbase-led group aims to help crypto firms avoid securities violations. So in a company blog post, Coinbase has announced that it's co-founded what they are calling the Crypto Rating Council. This is a member-only organization, and their purpose is to assist cryptocurrency companies and exchanges to determine if they are potentially, because again, there's no oversight or clarification coming from the SEC actually on this, but we'll see kind of what emerges from this. But they're trying to help, ostensibly, companies determine if they are complying with current U.S. federal securities law, because that's a very complicated and murky area. Coinbase is joined in this venture by other firms such as Anchorage, Bittrex, Circle, DRW Cumberland, Genesis, Grayscale Investments, and of course, Kraken. Release the Kraken. Now, as part of this effort, the way that this works is they are rating cryptocurrency projects on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being absolutely not a security. You are totally safe, beautiful as butter, right? And with 5 being, whoa, you are a full-blown security. We are not going to list you. We need to be a registered securities exchange or an ATS to even be thinking about touching you right now. Now, as of right now, they have rated 20 cryptocurrencies, with the top cryptocurrency by market cap, Bitcoin, being rated obviously a 1. Now, notably, and what I think is the big hullabaloo and to-do, and why a lot of people are talking about XRP today, is that XRP, as well as Maker and Polymath, landed scores of 4 or 4.5, with XRP specifically landing a score of 4, which means it is borderline security, which of course I believe is the case. That's my personal opinion. I've done a lot of research on XRP, and my opinions and thoughts on XRP are well known. Of course, you're going to have to make your own decisions on what makes sense for you as an investment. I don't hold any XRP, and I don't think it is proper to do so from my particular thoughts and systems of trading and investing. Now, as of right now, they are only rating cryptocurrencies that they personally list or offer. However, that is expected to change in the future, and with more releases and more reviews to follow. Now, here's the thing that is causing quite a stir, right? And I want to kind of break this down because it's not really a logical stir, and I think that people making a big deal about this, what I'm about to talk about, really pushes the conversation in a direction it shouldn't go, because there's a whole aspect of this that is troubling, that is not this, I think, silly thing overall that people seem to be focusing on. And what people are focusing on is the fact that, according to the council here, they will not disclose any cryptocurrencies that they rate that receive, according to their internal standard, a 5. Okay? Now, let me rephrase that. Let me just restate that. If they rate a cryptocurrency and the rating that they come out with is a 5, they're not going to tell anybody. Okay? So that's how it's interpreted. That's what people hear that's what people are saying on Twitter, and they're silly, right? This is silly. This is not a big deal, all right? And I'll explain why. Because if they would just read the article, or actually read anything from the Crypto Ratings Council that they've posted, then they would kind of understand why that is the case. Because, let's rephrase this, they're only going to be rating currently cryptocurrencies that they list. And so, if they review any project and it gets a 5, and a 5 means that coin or token needs to be on a registered securities exchange or an ATS platform, by definition, they would not be listing that token. Basically, what that means is we're not going to have any 5s, because if we were to somehow come across a 5, the signal would be us delisting that coin, because we're not going to list anything that is a blatant security. Okay? So that's what it means. And CZ responding to this saying, let me guess, Ripple isn't in this council either. Smiley, laughing face. And then he says the guys who score above 2 should form their own council and re-rate everything again. Now, I've never seen CZ shill XRP like that, because that's really what it is, in my opinion. Like, why, I don't understand why in my opinion, I think that's inappropriate for CZ to do. If you are the CEO of one of the largest exchanges, and you should not be taking a supportive or defensive, a supportive or a negative stance, probably, on just about any cryptocurrency. You should have a very neutral approach. That's why I also think it's highly inappropriate when Arthur Hayes came out and said Bitcoin for sure is going to 20,000, and then the market dumped from 10,000 down to 7,000, roughly. And 8,000, let's just be real. It did wick down to 7,700, but I think that's highly inappropriate from these people. And it just does go to show like that people in cryptocurrency, even the professionals, the people that we are like, oh, we've got the Coinbase CEOs and we've got CZ and we've got Arthur Hayes and all these people. Sometimes, many times, they act like children, right? All of this is wildly inappropriate for anything that can be considered an investment, right? Like there are clear laws about this with securities. And so coming from somebody who has traded equity, who has traded Forex and is quite used to that and quite familiar with what people and companies can and cannot say, especially anything concerning what would be considered something of a prospectus for an investor, all this stuff is wildly inappropriate for these guys to be saying in the position of authority that they're in. And so if you guys wonder why these claims of market manipulation are so rampant, it's because you have these really important figures in the space running around saying wildly inappropriate things, Like you, as CZ, as the CEO of Binance, you should not be commenting in this fashion on this, right? But the conversation about them not listing things that are fives or not talking about things that are fives is largely silly, because the larger problem here that I don't see anybody talking about and that I want to talk about today to you is this could be an excuse, in my opinion, for somewhat of a self-serving narrative, okay? The worry here for me is that this basically makes this crypto ratings council unofficial kingmakers, right? And giving them the ability to give the kiss of death, so to speak, to any coin or project or token that they don't like. Maybe again, so to get listed on exchanges, what do you typically have to do? You have to pay a listing fee. Well, what if there's a project out there that wants to get listed on your exchange but doesn't want to pay the listing fee? Or that you've approached to be listed on your exchange, but they're like, no, we're not interested. We're going to grow organically. We're not really interested to be involved with your platform. And again, there are cryptos out there that will take the stance, even against things like Coinbase, even against things like Binance, right? There are some out there that stand on principle, right? I'm not saying this is a massive phenomenon that's happening. Like you've just got tons of crypto projects out there that aren't like shouting at the gates, begging to be listed on Binance and Coinbase. Of course, that is overall the situation. But I'm just saying, does this sets up an environment in which, this power that they might have, if people look at them as a centralized authority, because again, this sets up logical fallacies. This sets up the appeal to authority logical fallacy, where if we're having a debate or if we're having an argument and you're talking about XRP, let's flip the script. Let's say I am talking to you and I am promoting XRP. I'm talking about its good things, its benefits, why it's a good investment, this, all, in the third. And then you come back with, yeah, but the Crypto Ratings Council gave it a 4 out of 5, man. Well, that's not an argument, right? That is an appeal to authority. It doesn't matter what these people over here said. You need to debate me with facts. Appeals to authority are not arguments. Unfortunately, the human brain does not really do too well with facts and figures and numbers and honestly logical arguments. I know this. I've been in the space for a long time. This is my bread and butter, is talking and engaging and debating. And people respond better to appeals to emotion, which is what the appeal to authority is. That's why it is probably the most common logical fallacy. And Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, doesn't really matter. That is, he's an extremely gifted persuader. He's an extremely gifted speaker. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to convince people the way that he does. You can just listen to the way, and there's been lots of videos on this. Charisma on Command has a really good video on this. There's a lot of videos out there. Douglas Adams, who is the creator of Dilbert, he has written a book on Trump's power of persuasion. And there's lots of other people like him who use these appeals to authority and repetition in their rhetoric to get across, very effective, to implant ideas in your head and be very persuasive and effective in argumentation and debate. So again, whether you like them or not, I just bring that up to kind of bring a dovetail to this. So we're going to see this all the time. And what worries me is that you're going to see this appeal to authority in the form of the Crypto Ratings Council, who are self-appointed, like who appointed them. And this brings up a wider issue of what is the better solution? What is the better alternative, right? Anytime that you have a centralized authority, you open up that door to kingmaking, to unofficial kingmaking, and you also open up that door to the appeal to authority and really putting a clamp down on honest debate of facts and reason and logic and evidence. Because now you have this centralized authority that you can point to, and you can just be like, well, but the Crypto Ratings Council gave it a 4, man, so I'm not even going to debate the merits of the investment with you. So I think this is not a good thing for having a free and open space, and really, honestly, not where we're trying to go as a space, as an asset class. We're trying to get away from centralized authority, and this is implanting centralized authority, self-appointed central authority on top of that. So that's concerning. The unofficial kingmaking is a real concern. People need to be talking about that, and the fact of the call to authority logical fallacy is a real concern. And make no mistake, that's exactly what this is and what this sets up. You see this in equity. The SEC, the CFTC, to a degree, but to a larger degree, things like Weiss Ratings or Moody's, all of those are performing the exact same thing, where their rating can make or unmake an asset, right? Make or unmake a stock based on a rating from a third-party agency. And again, setting up that appeal to authority thing. Thank you guys so much for all the subs, man. And this is especially concerning when, like, for example, right? So, we just talked about the negative effect that this can have. So we dovetail this with Ledger X's. I don't know if you guys are familiar. Ledger X is another company that has filed with the CFTC to have a physically delivered Bitcoin futures platform, just like Backed. Okay, it's one of the proposals. Not an ETF, but a physically delivered Bitcoin futures platform, just like Backed. So to repeat myself, I apologize. And they have just filed a complaint with the CFTC that the only reason they have not been approved is personal animus between CFTC Chairman Giancarlo and the CEO of Ledger X, Paul Cho. I believe I said that right. And that he has willfully blocked and obstructed their application process. And a lot of staffers from the CFTC have come out and apparently supported this. So this does seem fairly well substantiated. So again, all the corruption that you're going to get with a centralized authority now dovetail in what I just spoke about previously, when you have all of these influencers in the space. And I'm not talking influencers like YouTubers like myself. I'm talking about CZ, CEOs of exchanges, the guys from Coinbase, for the love of God, the Winklevoss twins. They say and tweet and do things in a space where you have investment and prospectus and all these market participants that is wildly inappropriate. So what do you think is going to happen when they self-appoint a ratings agency? Wildly inappropriate and dangerous for reasons people are not talking about. So, but here's the problem. What is the better solution, right? Do you guys want, we're going to have regulation. We're going to have a ratings agency. So do you guys think that obviously there's issues with a self-appointed one? Would you guys prefer the government to step in, or the UN to step in, or the SEC or the CFTC to step in and appoint a regulatory agency? Would you prefer that form of corruption? Would you perform the devil that we know versus the devil that we don't, or the devil that we kind of know? Because we're all on Twitter. Because it's impossible to elect any kind of centralized authority with 100% consensus, right? At the end of the day, like, you can take the blockchain example, right? Miners signal for which chain of transactions that they support, right? They vote with their hashing power. And at the end of the day, if there's a significant disagreement, there's a chain split. The problem with that analogy of the blockchain and what we have right now with any kind of centralized authority, especially when we talk about governments getting involved and you have agencies and blah, 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 is that it's very often impossible to fork off, right? Governments enforce their declarations through the use of force and violence. They have a monopoly on the use of force. This is known. This is not that anything that the government decrees is a caveat that if you do not listen to us, we will send nice men to your house with guns. And if you resist those men, they will shoot you. At the end of the day, that's how anything government does is done, right? So, again, do we want the devil that we know or the devil that we don't? Because at the end of the day, at least with there has to be some democratic way to do this. Very similar to consensus in the blockchain. I think that's probably the best way to go about it. But again, the reason the blockchain works is because people are incentivized economically. I think the failure with democratic voting is that people are not incentivized monetarily to vote. I think if people were incentivized monetarily to vote, we would have a smoother, more realistic, or better, at least anyways, democracy. So again, the problem here is structure, and the problem here is what is the better alternative to this? So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, or comment in the chat. I think people need to be talking about this because this is concerning, man. Nice hash, Logan. Thanks, man. I like the shirt as well. I prefer no devil, to be honest. Yeah, this is really live, Snowbird. Next news segment. Coinbase secret rating list gets hacked and leaked. Did XRP just kill Bitcoin? All right. And again, let's just end this kind of story with talking about this. Is, however you feel about XRP, I think that's the big hullabaloo that people are talking about this, is that they've given XRP a 4 out of 5, which people are saying, it's like the kiss of death, right? Which it might be. I don't want to say it's invalid for them doing what they're doing. It's concerning what they're doing. But it would be better for XRP to rise or fail on their own merits and not what a potentially self-serving centralized authority has in plan for them, has in store for them. That's my final thoughts on that, regardless of how you feel about XRP. And again, my thoughts on XRP are pretty well known. Okay. Let's go and talk about this. Justin Sun in the news again. So BTT delisted from Binance. And we can go over and kind of take a look at the price chart. Let's actually see the difference here. Obviously we're here on the daily. BTT has been taking a hell of a beating. I feel sorry for, any of the IEO investors. Johnny Ellsworth, thanks so much for joining us over there on YouTube, my friend. But here's the thing, man. I don't really want to hear there. Okay, so I've made a couple exceptions, but for the most part, I don't want to hear. I'm not interested in hearing like accumulation zones on a lot of these alt BTCs. The alt BTCs that are like absolutely floored. Again, you don't call bottoms in a bear market, and you don't call tops in a bull market. You don't do that. So, yeah, this is rough, man. This is a rough looking chart. Okay, let's get back over here. Don't really have a whole lot to say about this. I just think that it's kind of funny. So Binance delisted 30 trading pairs yesterday from its platform, including BitTorrent token. And I think this is just a larger example of maybe the fly in the ointment for the entire like altcoin investing narrative. Like for example, something that I thought was interesting is like, let's go look at something that was heralded as like the next, like the best possible, like, like fucking shitcoin investment like ever, man. Poloniex, man. Like the thing has just gone straight down, right? And all the IEOs are the same, right? So again, the narrative, the competing narrative is going to be, hey man, these things are just low, they're oversold, they're undervalued, and you just need to get them when they're in their accumulation zone, and you need to take them to the upside. It's fucking 3 sats, dude. Now that's not to say that something can't go to 3 sats and come back. Anything can happen, man. But yeah. But the thing here is that, the new wave of 2019 and kind of late 2018, honestly, was IEOs. So, obviously the ICO model generated, just an ungodly amount of money for a lot of people around the world. Exchange providers, coin projects, individual investors, with not too many, but some. And, we've seen the failure of that model, right? We've seen the failure of that, blockchain, not Bitcoin. We've seen the failure of that altcoins, not Bitcoin type of mentality and approach, because, while a lot of these, altcoins have not really done a whole lot on a macro scale whatsoever, Bitcoin is up a significant amount on its year to date. And again, you just look at Ethereum. If you look at Ethereum compared to Bitcoin, Ethereum doesn't even come close to Bitcoin on year to date gains. So again, just a significant weakness coming in from the altcoins as opposed to the others, which is why I'm always very, very tentative about looking at long trades on assets that on macro timeframes are just not trending very strong on the upside, right? And there's, people are looking for that get rich quick opportunity, and it's just, I get it, man. I get it. I trade altcoins too, but you got to be a little bit more discerning. Now, what really is, I don't know if this is funny or just sad, is that they are, that BTT was the first IEO project that they listed on Binance, right? So does anybody see the fundamental flaw with that? That, Binance put their name on BTT to pump it, and then they're now delisting it because they're done with it, right? That is really, really wrong, man. That is really wrong. And of course, Binance's IEOs are the only ones that had a possibility to generate a return for their investors, right? You had, the Elrond, and you had Matic, and you had One, you had Harmony One. All, those did have a bullish trend, right? And if you got in and you sold, then you could have done okay. You could have even done okay, just, following simple trend following strategies. Even on higher time frames, there was a pump period. But after that initial movement to the upside, right, it's just been to the downside. There's just been nothing from these IEOs. I think the model is failed, man. There is no massive wave of investor interest in these fucking altcoins, dude, unfortunately. And I'm sorry for dropping the F-bomb. It's 1:41. We're getting close to the end here, man. But, thing is, man, it's just rough, man. So according to Binance's announcement, they have delisted the following trading pairs: ANKR, BCPT, BTT, Dent, Doge, ERD, FTM, Fuel, GTO, Lunar, Ncash, NPXS, One, PHB, T-Fuel, and Waves, and Win. This is ridiculous, man. Moving along. Binance stated that the reason for getting rid of the above-mentioned cryptocurrency pairs is to improve the user experience and the liquidity of its trading platform. Yeah, what that means is, these pairs absolutely suck. Furthermore, the exchange claimed that most of the project teams whose token trading pairs had been delisted had requested so from Binance. So they're saying that the projects themselves asked for the coins to be delisted. We made a whole bunch of money from the IEO. Appreciate it, man. Screw the investors. So, all right, guys. We are coming to the end of that. Just a kind of passing mention here. Germany has passed a new national policy. And I think the main takeaway from what Germany is doing over here is kind of what I'm seeing evolve as a European approach to this whole blockchain thing, which is to kind of look, which is interesting, which is to kind of look at the decentralized cryptocurrencies and their own, obviously, central banking ideas. Of course, we have the central banks around the world that are going to be digitizing their national fiats. Of course, it's going to happen. And obviously looking to limit stablecoins. So when they say stablecoins, I don't really think they're too worried about things like Tether, to be quite honest with you. They are attempting to prevent things like Libra because they are going to want central bank issued stablecoins, digital currencies to be the standard, is what we're going to be seeing over the next 10 or 20 years. Is we're going to see a complete moving away. We're going to see tokenization of national fiats. That's what central bank fiat. That's what we're going to see. It's already going to happen. Maybe I think they're just waiting for maybe the boomer generation to completely die off. It's possible because they just don't want to. They just don't want to have to have people on telephones to answer questions, and they don't want to have to put up the websites with big text to click on stuff. They just the millennial generation and onwards were like, yeah, man, we don't call. We just go to the website and we understand how technology works. No problem. Yeah, we want digital money. No problem. So this is Germany's government passing a new strategy outlining the ways the leading EU state is planning to use blockchains. Leading EU state, not by interest rate, of course. So this was approved by Mrs. Merkel's cabinet on Wednesday, and their priority in the blockchain space is going to be digital identity, securities, and corporate finance. It also sets out that the state will not tolerate the threat to state money by stablecoins like, and quoting here by name, the Facebook-led Libra. So all they're worried about is not having a significant challenger to their national fiat, of course, and their central bank issued fiat currency, because they're going to tokenize their own fiat currency. And again, I don't really think they're too worried about Bitcoin. Honestly, I've talked about this before. People think that governments around the world are terrified of Bitcoin. They're really not. That's why they're fools. But what they are worried about is something like Libra, which again, I've gone on record and will continue to say we are going to see, well, potentially, it kind of depends on how this, government versus Libra thing works. I think we will see corporate coins be successful if governments allow them to be. And I think we're going to see Bitcoin be successful regardless of what governments want them to do. Okay. Back over into the live scene. And let's go check back in with Bitcoin. Nothing really to speak of, my friends. So let's go to the request that we had today, which is going to be XRP, silver, and ALGO. We'll start off with silver. Look at the silver CFD over here on Awanda. Okay, so Zag's kind of an interesting place, man. Obviously, in a bearish trend coming down on the descent. Now, we are looking at a precious metal / commodity. So let's start off. And yeah, sometimes you just look at silver, Ken, and you're just like, man, I just wish we were here. Why do we got to be here? Why can't we just pump back up to those all-time highs? Trying to sell at the top this time. All right. Now, shout out to Little Bubble. Okay. So I think this is important to kind of look at the overall, macro trend. We're not anywhere near historical highs. We are coming up to an area of demand. We are coming up to a pretty historic level of supply up here, where the rally back in 2016 was chunked down, the infamous summer rally of 2016. And we've pretty much just trended in a tight range with a downtrend right here, in a range, And again, good trends, multi-week trends, to be quite honest with you. And then lately, silver has been in quite an uptick, right? Causing a lot of excitement. It's on its way back down right now. Okay, so it is hard to be biased to the upside when you see, unfortunately, silver continue to make lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs for literally for literally almost a decade. It is kind of hard to get excited about an asset that just makes lower highs for a decade. But it's very hard to say, I want to buy the dip, right? I think that we are seeing a lot of selling volume to the downside. It'd be different if we did not see a lot of volume to the downside. Unfortunately, we do see a lot of volume to the downside. Let's bring up the indicators, and I think the indicators are going to be very telling of kind of what's going on. Obviously, we have Poloniex itself telling us to be going short and trending down here. Now, Poloniex did catch the majority of this movement to the upside. Let's go back just a little bit. Look at this declination. We are short here with a brief resumption of that, and pretty much short, as you can see here, for almost all of this, right? Just a very brief, about 2 or 3 days of going long before we do short this entire movement. Now, the movement to the upside has been a little choppier than usual, but again, getting you in for pretty much the majority of the big movements. And you're not really looking to short this because you're above your Kijun. So let's look at where we are in relation to that. Yeah, man. I mean, this is bearish structure, man. This is bearish structure. We did get the short signal from Minx and the confirmed signal yesterday. We actually got a powerful signal from Wadatar Explosion the day before that. Yesterday, or excuse me, not yesterday. This is back on the 22nd or 25th, excuse me. Poloniex itself. We get everything lining up on the 25th. So I would be in an active short on this, looking for take profit targets at that point in time. We've already hit one at 1661, but again, 1612 and whoa, my bad. No, we already hit one at 1734. Next one's going to be coming down here around 1685 and about 1637. 1637 on that. Now, no, nothing really significant there. We haven't had the 1355 cross under, so I wouldn't say it's dead. But I would not be looking for continuation yet at this point in time. Now, so I do want to kind of talk about this though. It's not very clean. It is not very clean. If we look at the way that silver's price has reacted, there are a couple logical areas. Of course, we're talking about a precious metal, so we can talk about supply and demand. Let's kind of bring on the line chart and talk about this a little bit. I think, obviously, this level right here, right around the higher $15 mark, obviously was a good level of demand for silver throughout the range of, kind of the end of 2016, moving all the way for about 2 years. This was the clear demand zone, and you kind of have a weakening supply zone in the form of a contraction. We do have a good consistent horizontal right here, down around the higher 15s, 15.75 to $16, okay? And again, you can see that when we actually broke that level and formed our bottom, which we can kind of go back to this demand zone over at the very, very end of 2016, or 2015, excuse me, that area did act as supply on the first pass through. Then we ended up breaking that. We did actually back test it on a wicking basis, so we established that as a bullish order block. So overall, this is where my eyes would be right now on the $16 to $15.75 region. I'd be looking to see if we can retest that and hold that. I think that also would be, again, holding the bullish order block, coming back and retesting that bullish order block around the $16 area. And then I just wait to see off of that. So as it sits right now with silver, I won't be taking a trade unless I get a confirmed PTP trade, which means all my indicators need to flip bullish. We need to be of the Kijun. We need to see Wadatar Explosion go bullish. We need to see Poloniex go bullish. Potentially, we haven't really incorporated that in yet. Minx go bullish. We need to see all of that happen right now for me to be taking a long as it sits right now. we could get some demand and get a little bit of a bounce coming back down to this consolidation area right here. But not really something I'd be interested to trade. Honestly, we'd probably have to see something we'd probably have to see this high get taken out and actually start trending to the upside for me to want to jump in the long. So I would be overall bearish on silver right now, unfortunately, until we get back down to the $16 area, and then we can kind of see what kind of reaction we get at that point in time. Moving to ZERP. All right, ZERP currently trading at about 25 cents. Yes, and holding its Now listen, I hate to say this, man. This is literally going to break my heart to say this, but okay, I am not going to deny that we are in a demand zone for XRP. Okay, now again, just as I said with silver, when we look at XRP, and I know this is probably hard for you guys to see, I'm sorry. But when we look at XRP, again, it is kind of hard to get bullish about something that since that for a year you've just seen make lower highs and lower highs and lower highs, with very, very little break in that structure, man. But I'm not gonna like ignore the fact that we are at the ceiling of the 2017 market, the end of the 2016 market. And, the demand area that we saw, give a good reaction back in August 2018. We had a nice little pop up from that area. Didn't really come down and test that area whatsoever. We did kind of establish a little bit of a higher low range there. Tanistrom, thanks so much for the for the subscription over there on YouTube, my good friend. Highly appreciate that, man. So we have seen a fake out of this area. Nice long wicks to the downside, which are typically indicative of accumulation. And we are getting a nice reaction from XRP USD here on the daily. We are, of course, getting time transformation curling up. Minx told you to be out of your short several days ago, of course. Over here on the 26th, Minx said, yo, buddy, get out of your short, man, right now. Get out of the short. Don't be in the short right now. What are you doing? Why are you short? Again, time transformation giving us the curl up right now. Wadatar explosion, showing a green candle, falling explosion level, not a rising explosion level. We have a strong trend to the downside on these candles right here. Paralox told us to go short right about here, and this is just with default settings. And so, am I eager to take a trade as we sit right now? Not particularly. There are some things here that are positive. Obviously, whenever we see reversal signals with good volume coming in around a demand zone, we get a little bit more interested in looking at a reversal type setup. So this might be, I'm not going to lie, this might be a good area to get some XRP. Okay, just looking at this, one thing that is the fly in the ointment, obviously, is the lower highs progressively. So I wouldn't have, this is not, I'm not saying this might not be a good time to get XRP. It's not going in my portfolio, but it might not be a bad trade to make. I'd be a little hesitant right now, but again, it is kind of sitting in an area where it is worth the shot. We have seen XRP come down to this area only twice, right? So causation does not equal correlation, and put in some significant gains, right? We can see it right here, and the thrust to the upside. Now, the other element to this, of course, is establishing a new low. We took out this level, so instead of a stop raid, this just could be, breaking this level of support right here, breaking this level of support, and now faking out any long traders. XRP is going to go with the larger market, right? XRP, the USD pair is going to go to a weaker degree. It has tracked the Bitcoin and Ethereum and EOS dollar pairs, okay? And maybe I think that way because I do the majority of my trading on ByBit, where those are the dollar pairs that we can trade. But overall, it's going to track. It's going to track what the dollar pairs are doing. It's going to follow Bitcoin to a slightly weaker degree. But again, putting in some nice performance today, up about 7.47%. That's not true range. True range probably about 9%, I think. Actually, about 11% true range. So I really don't think I want to do anything on this yet or right now. But I will be keeping my eyes on it. Probably at this point in time, just be waiting for a trending signal to the upside. Or, we'll just kind of see where the larger market goes. Again, I think it's not in a bad area. I do think that Bitcoin's in a good area as well. Of course, I'm long on Bitcoin, so I don't really feel the need to go long on ZERP USD, only in a situation where I feel that XRP would outperform Bitcoin at this point in time. So we'll just kind of have to be very kind of hands-off, I think, and just see what the larger market's going to do, in particular, with BTC being primed for a movement. And we'll finish off with ALGO. ALGO looks pretty decent, I would say, on the daily. We have been trending to the upside. We did get a nice time transformation buy signal. We've talked about why these are not qualifying buy signals. This one might have been. One thing, obviously, that I'd be a little hesitant about, obviously, is we are coming right up to this supply zone. And we're going to see if we can flip this into, this is a bearish breaker. Once we broke this area, we had a bullish order block. It was broken. That makes this a bearish breaker. And so we're coming right up to that area right now between 30.50 and 30.70. And we're currently trading at 29.71. Doesn't give us a whole lot of upside exposure. I would expect to actually see rejection from this area right now. And again, kind of the same kind of concept here. We do have this range, and I would be kind of looking to form a higher low above the median of that range, seeing if we can't form that higher low and then actually break that level. That's when I'd kind of be interested to buy. Would feel less hesitant about this this supply area that's sitting right overhead. Especially, again, I got to be hesitant on the BTC pairs when they've had such a nice run over the last weekend and couple days. With BTC, as I said, being primed for a movement. So you want to be careful. All right, with that being said, guys, it is 1:59 and it is time to get going, guys. Thank you so much. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. All 213 of you. Let's slide on over here. Why didn't that work? Try that again. Hey, that's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlights. Losing my religion. I should have said Ripple. Hey, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another fantastic episode of Breaking Bitcoin. Highly appreciate all the support. All of you are fantastic. I hope you guys go on to have a very wonderful day. Hold yourself down for some promotion. If you guys are new, experienced, or aspiring traders, and you would like to sharpen your skills and trade along with us, if you'd like to use our tools and follow our rules, as well as have access to everything that we have to offer, make sure to check out the top link in the description down below, premium.krakencryptocurrency.com, to have a review of what the premium group can offer for you and see if it is a right fit if you are learning to grow as a trader. If you guys want to keep the conversation going after the show, because it's more about the community than just the show, guys. It's not just the stream, it's about the talk. Make sure to hop in the Discord, discord.krakencryptocurrency.com. Whether you are a premium or free member, conversation is open to everybody. If you guys want to support the show, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification, because YouTube does not like crypto YouTubers. Doesn't matter how many fruit baskets I send them. They just don't care. So hit the thumbs up button is also highly appreciated. If you are watching us on Twitch or DLive, make sure to follow us. We highly appreciate that as well. And share us to your family, your friends, people you don't even like. That's my cousin. I'll call him back. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Question of the day is, I want to make sure I ask the same. I feel like I asked the question of the day at the beginning. I want to make sure I do the same question of the day. But if I get it wrong, I apologize. Default to this one, if you're watching this far. Question of the day is, what do you feel about the Coinbase, Crypto Ratings Council? We talked about a lot of dangers. Make sure you check that bit out in the show. There's a lot of dangers to this. Unofficial king-making, centralized authority to the appeal to authority logical fallacy. A lot of dangers about that potential reality. And again, it's a reality now. So what do you guys think about that? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. We'll also enter you to win 8,000 Spectre Security Coin, which you do give away every single day on this channel. Shout out to Spectre Security Coin. All the sponsors, you guys are absolutely fantastic. My name has been Justin Wise. We'll be back tomorrow at noon Central Daylight Time until 2, as we are every single Monday through Friday session, breaking down the markets, telling you guys what we think. Trade safely, and we'll see you tomorrow to crack some cryptocurrency, guys.